Welcome to episode number 52 of Botcasters. Today, again, with Jim Rowe-Bot. Welcome, Jim.
Thanks for having me again. I really appreciate it.
Well, we believe at Botcasters, if you promise something, you have to deliver. A couple months ago, you were on the show because you had a pre-announcement talking about Everything Conversational.ai. And here we are. As this podcast gets released, you're also releasing Everything Conversational.ai. So these two things coincide. So for the people who don't know you, and there's probably still some people out there who don't know you, please introduce yourself and explain us about Everything Conversational.
Hi. So for the people that don't know me, my name's Jim Rowe. You'll notice my name on LinkedIn is Jim Rowe-Bot. There's a story behind that, and if you want to know it, reach out to me. I've been working in chatbots for 7 years and conversational AI, because they are different, for 6 years. I've had the opportunity to work with some fantastic brands, and the nature of what I've achieved is that I've sold chatbots, bought chatbots, built chatbots, reviewed chatbots. So the whole element, although I know I'm lacking in some areas of my knowledge, which is part of why I'm launching this new project. In that time, I've managed to work with some fantastic businesses turning over millions of dollars and small businesses turning over thousands of dollars. So it gives me quite a unique insight into businesses, conversation, and customers. I have worked in a call center. So in a previous life, I worked in a call center, one of the biggest in the UK at the time. And I saw the inner workings of a call center and how powerful and talented call handlers can be. You know, some of the best agents in the world I saw working, and I was in awe of them. But I didn't last long because I was not very good at it. So weirdly, other side of the coin, I've moved on to the automation side. Going forward, I'm really an advocate for the conversational AI community. I say conversational AI, but those that are working in messenger chatbots, Telegram chatbots, WhatsApp, all the way up to the big top platforms that we all know and love. And also now, obviously, you can't work in this area without touching on AI because it's making such a big impact on what we do every day and will continue to for at least the rest of my life, put it that way. One of the things that I wish I'd had when I started in conversational AI was the support of a community. It felt very lonely. I felt very isolated. It was hard work to learn. It was hard work to network. And Everything Conversational.ai is my attempt to solve that problems for the community at large, which is growing massively. You've seen that yourself. So many more people joining this niche that we're in. And I want to be able to provide something that is actively supporting people in their development, both career and personally. And Everything Conversational AI is my first attempt at that. And hopefully, as it grows, with the help of the community I'm hoping to build around it, we'll be able to help more people. And we've spoke briefly about that. So that's a brief introduction.
Well, we can discuss if it was brief, but it was a good introduction. But messing with you, there's one thing that sort of boggles me. This is the third time you're in the podcast, and we tested chatbots, and what I've seen is but this is number 52. We've been at it a little bit over a year, and we've done some events. And what I've seen is a lot of some good chatbots, some great chatbots, but a lot of mediocre one, I have to be honest. And if you look at the previous podcast, not the last series, we didn't test any chatbots because they were a little bit more about AI. Because my feeling is, and if I talk to a lot of people, I do talk to a lot of people, the sense is that AI is going to take over a lot of what we see now in the conversational AI in the chatbot field, and the community is not really aware of what's happening, not even aware of what's possible. There's so much information coming out, it's impossible to keep up. So that's one thing I see. So I thought I needed to pay some more attention to AI so people understand the potential. It's basically what you're saying. But my worry is, or my thought is, we want to sort of stop having mediocre chatbots. And we discussed this once. We know it's not always a matter of budget. It's there's more to it. And how is your platform? And we promised we'd support it, and we are. And I have to say to everybody, there is absolutely no financial deals or whatever. I just at Botcaster, we feel we need to support this. It's a great initiative, and we also did the same thing. We started Botcasters because there was a lot of bullshit information around, no real conversations, just commercials, selling platforms. I didn't want to sell platforms. I want to make my money in an honest way. And I want to share the information that I wished was there when I needed it. So now I combine the two, and it's been a great journey so far, and it's only getting better, and more complex, I have to admit. But you basically said that too. How are we going to, with your platform and with the community, how are we going to make sure that we're going to see less mediocre chatbots? And it's a tough question. I realize that.
I know. So firstly, congratulations on reaching 52 episodes.
Thank you.
I think we spoke about this before, but there was a lot of podcasts pre-pandemic.
Yeah, you said that.
Pandemic seemed to, the pandemic, they all vanished. And some were good, some were mediocre, whatever. But a lot of them vanished. And I don't think people realize how difficult it is to stay consistent on any kind of content creation. And I think podcasts is probably one of the hardest. Everybody wants to have a podcast, but when they start, they realize how hard work it is. And even I consider the podcast, but once I realized how much work is involved, I was like, no, I'm not doing that. There's people far better at that.
I have to be really honest, Jim. I have to be really honest about this, because when I first discussed this, I said to my oldest son, who is also my producer, I said, this is going to be a lot of work. I'm going to be recording every week or several times a week, working ahead. What am I getting into? And he says, don't expect any results in the beginning. I'm like, oh, so I'm putting in a lot of work and not getting any results. And yeah, but that's part of it. You need to stay out there, be consistent, and just be there and talk about what interests you, and make it your conversation. And that sort of resonated. And well, now we're at 52. We're doing events, and it turned into something I never expected it to turn into. And the more I do, the more fun it gets. Maybe I also get better at it. I don't know. That's for other people to judge. But and it is a lot of work. People don't understand. It's
people know that I create a lot of content, primarily LinkedIn, because that's my favorite platform. And I know it's a risk having it all on one platform, but I enjoy writing. And
you're good at it.
People reach out to me. Yeah, and people reach out to me every day saying thank you for the content. I pride myself on being brand agnostic, so you won't see me aligned to a particular brand. I'm not a brand advocate or any of that kind of stuff. I kind of stay independent because I think there's not that much independence out there, unfortunately. And I get why, because it's really easy to align yourself with a brand, get paid by the brand to support them, and it helps fund your content creation. But I want to take a slightly different approach. I got my consultancy work, which does okay. I really enjoy it. I do my creating, which I really enjoy, which brings me my work. But I also feel that the experience I've built up over time means that I can pull a community together. And the question you asked, that's going back, is how can we help create better conversational AI experiences? Whether that is through the traditional chatbot, which is where I cut my cloth, or through voice, which, I don't like to make predictions, but I think it's obvious to everybody that voice is going to be the primary channel 5-10 years from now, because AI assistants are going to make it the primary channel. The likes of Siri and Alexa although useful, have not lived up to what we all want. The everything assistant. But that's going to happen now because of generative AI.
Have you ever yelled at your phone for not doing what you asked it to do?
Exactly. I think in our private lives, in our work lives, AI assistants are going to become so important, and we are going to expect businesses to have AI assistants. So for anybody that's been working in voice, which I know is particularly challenging, I'm really excited for them because I think it's going to be a boom time. Boom and challenging. I don't know if you've seen recently, but there's been a lot of people made redundant across the world as businesses have reshaped themselves. As there have been, acquisitions have happened, and they all end up in my timeline. They're all looking for work. But going back, how do we get the community to create great conversational experiences and kind of elevate the skill of conversational AI, whether it's AI trainer, whether you're working at the NLP, whether you're doing the design, UX, whatever it might be. How do we lift everybody? We pull a community together of like-minded people that want to be better. Not the people that just are in this because it's a job, but the people that want to be the best. And one of the challenges I had, and I know other people have, is career development within the whole niche of conversational AI. A lot of people fall into conversational AI because they worked in communication within their company, they're working in the call center, whatever it was, but they've got no idea how to develop their career, and that unsettles people, not knowing what their options are. They've done one project on one platform, building one chatbot. Now what? They're stuck. Where do they go? Where do they go to learn other platforms? Where do they get advice? Who do they speak to for career advice? What other skills do they need to develop? There's all these questions that often cannot be answered within the organization they're in, but can be answered within the community, if it's a good community. So for me, that's what I want to do, is pull a community together of like-minded people who want to build the best experiences and develop their career, who can openly share their work and have it challenged, and know it's being challenged for the right reasons. Not because we want any one-upmanship, it's because we want to help people be best they can be. And I've kind of been doing this in the background anyway. People often reach out to me and say, "Oh, I've built this. Can you critique it for me?" And I'll go in and I'll say, "Yeah, your welcome message is okay, but it's slightly too much friction. I don't know when we did this. That doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to ask that question at that point. That answer is a bit all over the place." And I'm giving that feedback already to people, and they do appreciate it. Now imagine being in a community of 250 people who are all looking out for your best interest to make you deliver a better project, or be, a better cog in that project. Or you're stuck as a cog in that project and you want to know where you can develop yourself, soft and hard skills. So that's kind of what Everything Conversational AI aims to be.
And how big do you want it to be, the initiative? Because we're speaking in English. I can imagine that, and we've discussed this before, that culture-wise, let's say, if you and I would look at a chatbot, we probably have sort of the same comments. You might have some British humor in there. I might have some Dutch bad humor in there, but we sort of would get it together. But if you were in a Latin American country, or for instance, Brazil, or it is so different, or an Asian country, how are you? Is that the same community, or is that a different community? How's that going to work?
Yeah, so I've been giving this some thought, and I've got some ideas around it. But to be honest, I think it needs to come from the community. So once the community starts growing, so within the community, and I'll let the cat out of the bag now. So phase one is a Slack community, and there's a lot of reasons why I chose a Slack community, and we can go into those. And then phase two will be a website that effectively wraps around that Slack community. And the website will be the kind of the outside face, and then within the website there'll be a members only area, of which the Slack will be part of that. But phase one really is Slack, and within that I'll be looking to bring people into kind of the inner circle. I call it the C-suite. So they'll become like channel owners. So you'll see in a minute we've got various channels set up. These are the channels that I initially think we need, but I think the community will actually change those as they come in. So there'll be like a project management one, there'll be a content one, there'll be, we'll go into that in a second. But I'll be looking for people that show initiative and drive to effectively become channel leaders. So there's one channel called the C-suite, which is private, and that will be all the channel leaders will be in the C-suite, as I call it. And they will be, so as we get suggestions from the community, those suggestions will go into the C-suite, and we'll discuss them in a closed forum with all the channel leaders, and we'll pick the changes we want in. So, for instance, if I say next month, what guests do we want in, and they come up with a suggested list, then they'll go into the C-suite, and those people that are channel leaders, channel owners, I haven't decided on what the name's going to be yet, but they're in the C-suite, will then say, yes, let's pay to get that person in. That person might come in for free. Let's try and get them in for free. Or, the community wants training on that. A good chunk of people want training on that. Let's pay for that. So that's kind of the way I'm going to do it. And when you talk about languages, when we start to see an influx of people of a certain nationality or like the South America one is a brilliant one to call, because there's a lot happening in South America around chatbots. And we might just say there's a channel which is Brazil, for instance, because there's enough people in the community that can have their Brazil channel. And then there'll be a channel leader that runs that Brazil channel. So people that understand Portuguese and English will get access to everything and will feel comfortable. And it'll be up to the channel leader within, say, Brazil or South America, whatever we decide to call it, will say, right, we need that content, but we need it in Portuguese. And then we'll make that happen.
And
that's
what about
the way?
And what about the other way around? Because if let's stick with Brazil as an example, the country is it's developing their capabilities and their use of conversational AI and chatbots and everything, and different type of channels. I am pretty sure, like for instance, banking in Africa. Everybody thought it's backward, but they skipped the whole branches part. They just do everything by phone. So in a way, they've been forward because they sort of skipped. And you told me the same thing about Georgia. So if they sort of move ahead with everything that's there now and don't have the legacy, so they don't have all the old systems that sort of can't do much. I think there's space for us in Europe or in the US to learn from that and say, okay, how did they manage to do that? And sort of, it might be worthwhile to translate that from Portuguese into English to further the rest of the community.
Yeah, well, thankfully, and you would have seen these tools yourself, we've got these AI tools coming now where you can talk in a language and it just gives it you in your language. So thankfully, this is the right time to be launching a global community. English is kind of seen as the language of business. So, I speak to people all over the world and English kind of pulls us together. But, there might be a way to, if it's big enough, so imagine you've got 100 people from Brazil. That Brazilian community with a good channel leader could be a little powerhouse. And like you say, like Africa, as a continent, 200 odd languages or whatever it is, it could be pretty. I think South Africa's got like 9 languages or whatever. It could be really, really nice to have little powerhouses of localized communities. So like an Indian community, an Australian community, or whatever else. But, I'm not set hard on any of those things. I think the community will start to develop organically. I hate the term organically. It will develop as the members want it to develop. And the C-suite, the channel owners, channel leaders, whatever we decide to call them, they will be the kind of They will be the people that make the final decision, not me. So it'll almost be like we've got our little round table, our knights of the round table, and the propositions will come to them, and then they'll make a decision around the community.
Now, this is about the content part and the learning part and the helping each other part. Now, we also know, we also discussed that a while ago, is that there's a lot of freelancers in the business. And people, I have an interesting, I noticed something really interesting. I don't know if you agree, but there's a lot of the freelancers, the people that work in conversational AI. It is a specific kind of people, in my opinion, and I might be completely wrong, but it's these are neurodiverse people. That's my observation, and I think we're all one of them. and that's partly because the business we're in, it's so diverse, it changes, it's all over the place, and it's everywhere and nowhere. And I think the freelancers in the business, they have a hard time, I wouldn't say promoting themselves, but getting the message out there, because there's so much clutter for the people hiring. How do you know this is a good one? How do you judge if as a hiring company, how to judge what they made? Should you look at the old chatbots? Is it even relevant? Or does the person understand my business and is able to translate that to conversational AI or chatbot or what have you? I think there's something missing there. Nobody is preparing, and there's no institution preparing, I would say us, for the market. We're good at what we do, but there's a part missing. And I'm not saying entrepreneurship, but it's something beyond that. Do you know what I mean?
It's interesting. Yeah, well, straight away when you were talking then, I came up with a great content idea, which is the freelancers, we work together on a piece of content, which is what questions should a business ask a conversational AI freelancer? And we put those together because we've had those questions asked of us. All those questions have been asked, and we put that together almost like a pick list of questions. And that's a piece of content that's been created by the community. And this is where I see everything conversational AI as a community. I want people to be proud to wear it as a badge on their LinkedIn and then get involved in creating content which helps the wider conversational AI community, but then also helps businesses who want to employ people or develop their conversational AI and see us as a resource. So a business could be making their first step into conversational AI and come to the Everything Conversational AI community and saying, where do we start? What questions do we need to ask? What skills are we looking for? And we would have already created that stuff, all branded up, and it will list the members that helped create it. There'll be living documents that are getting updated. And we're actually enforcing good practice. We're helping businesses make the right choice first time, every time, because it can be a very expensive mistake if you choose the wrong platform, the wrong people to manage the project, the wrong team to put into your project. A lot of businesses don't even know who should be part of the project, especially, and obviously it depends on the size of the business, and because conversational AI can cut across every area of the business. So I see eventually, Go on.
Go on.
I just see that eventually the community will gain power and strength and confidence that it starts to put information out to the wider community. Because at the moment, a lot of the information comes from creators like me, or it comes from the platform and software providers, the SaaS providers. It doesn't come from the mass part, the 99% of the community that are doing the real work. And I want to change that.
That sounds good. Do you envision, besides the conversation designers and the UX designer and everybody who's involved in the process, do you expect to get like corporate members? So like have a different part or different section that corporates become get a corporate membership and get sort of the guidance we just said. Okay, where do I start? and how do I start, and how do I avoid all the stupid mistakes that cost a lot of money. Because the interesting thing is there's institutes to get training. There is a lot of content out there. But if you look at the relevant corporate content, it's actually lacking. It's one of the things I also try to do in the podcast, to ask, about how do you involve C-suite? How do you get them to do the right thing? Which information would they need? And we're actually, this is interesting, we're working on, it's a cooperation with another company. And again, it's not for financial purposes, but we need the network. We're going to create a podcast series with only C-suite people in it, in financial services. We started in the Netherlands, because we're curious what drives them, and to understand for the other side of the community, to understand, okay, if you talk to a C-suite person, or you have to sell your project, what is it that they need in order to understand what you need, and how to get it right, and not just this year, but next year and the year after, and get long-term results and manage expectations in the right way. And it took us a long time to get that. What is it actually that we need to make? We're going to make some amazing content with this, and probably answer a lot of very difficult questions, and help the community further to do the right thing in a corporate setting. And we know it's hard.
Yeah, so I've been thinking about this a lot, because you've got some big organizations out there that might have 20 people. So there's two elements. You've got the SaaS providers, or the system providers, and they might be huge, and there are some huge ones out there. And they've got, in terms of developing their staff, they don't know what to do. And one of them might be to offer access to this community, because, we're delivering stuff that they wouldn't deliver. So we might, do a 12-week created course internal to the group on project management, for instance, which is focused on conversational AI, not just agile or waterfall, whatever it is. It's just a general understanding of how projects should run. And within a lot of corporates, they might think, well, it just makes sense for them to for us to buy a corporate membership, 20 licenses, and people can just use them. On the other side, you've got businesses that are looking to implement conversational AI, and I want to attract one or two people to come and join this community before they even pitch it to the C-suite. So they come in and they ask within the community all the questions they think the C-suite are going to ask, because likes of you and me and lots of other members who will be in the community would have already had those conversations. There'll be the ROI questions, there'll be all the risk questions, the finance questions. Yeah, privacy is always a big one. Bias is a huge one. We know the questions they're going to ask. So my hope is that people, like, very early on in their projects, will join us, and we'll support them, giving them the information and holding their hand as they go to pitch that to their business. I want it to be a real powerhouse, but a well-managed powerhouse. What I don't want it to end up being is all the creators we already know kind of leading all the conversations within Everything Conversational AI. So I'm going to be looking for the diamonds in the rough, the people to run the channels. They'll get the benefit of being known as a channel owner and building up their profile and learning new skills, because I'm going to train them on content creation and how to manage communities. But they'll also obviously they're not going to pay for access because they're going to be a channel owner. And they're also going to get access to every course for free. There's going to be a benefit to being a channel owner and sharing your knowledge and improving your knowledge. I think it's going to start off, and you talked about the size of it. My initial goal is to get to 100 people across everything. So I want a good mixture of conversational designers, AI trainers, customer service experience experts, project managers, perhaps even some people working in sales, product owners. I want a real good mishmash. Some AI people that are focused on LLMs, people that, all they do is NLP, NLG, NLU, because selfishly, I want to learn more about that. So I want to
sounds
make
like my podcast.
Yeah, exactly. I want to bring a good, solid 100 people together. I think once we get 100 people together, it will transition into something. And how it will transition, that community will drive it. So from that 100 people, we'll know who the channel owners should be. And initially, it's going to be very communist. I will reach out to the people I think are dynamic, the people that have got the right attitude. And
You
I
got
think
you
you
got the
can help
Castro
drive the
beard for
community.
it.
Exactly. So yeah, I'm really excited for it, but the market will decide if they think this thing has value, if they want to be a part of it. What I don't want, and it's a big risk, that is when people lose their job, they want to be a part of the community, and they come in and they get everybody in the community to help them get a job, and then they go. If you're going to come into this community, come into this community and give more than you take. And that's going to be, from the beginning, is about giving more than you take in. 100 people giving more than they're taking will grow this community.
Interesting, because you said something before about project management, and I also give training project management to medical professionals, and it's profoundly, although the basic principles are the same, it's profoundly different in a healthcare setting from any other regular corporate setting. And from the projects I've managed in chatbots, so conversational AI, it is profoundly different than regular project management. And regular project managers don't seem to understand. They run into walls or drive into walls if they try to do it. First of all, it's a different breed of people you're dealing with, and that's one. But it is a different way of working and communicating and testing, etc. It's not your regular software project. And
No.
and there's so much uncharted territory which they're not usually not used to. And it's not so much the technology; it's in the content and how things work, especially if you introduce AI. So I think that would be of amazing value. People sharing their experience and their fuck ups too, in order to avoid them.
And to have a place where you can talk openly. So you can spill your guts, your frustrations. Yeah.
How are you going to safeguard the? That's one of the. It just crossed my mind. You said it needs to be a safe place. How do you safeguard that whatever you say that doesn't go outside? Or let's say you spill your guts and your employer is listening and say, how are we going to manage that?
Well, I think there's a certain level of personal management. Is you should never badmouth your employer. I've worked in lots of businesses, and I've had great managers, I've had terrible managers, I've seen great leadership, I've seen poor leadership. I would never rubbish any of them. I've also been a leader, and I know I've been a rubbish leader, and sometimes I've been a great leader. So leading is challenging, but I think there's a certain level of personal management about what you say, and I always say nothing is truly private. But I think you need to be comfortable to share your frustrations. And that might be personal frustrations where, like, my career's not going where I want it to go. And that's another thing I want to be able to do, is to bring career development professionals in. So, they come in and they talk about how you can develop yourself to become a bigger, better asset, not only to the business you're working in now, but potentially a business that might hire you in the future. So it's taking some personal ownership. And I often say, if a job's not working for you and you've been there a while, you've got to take some ownership that you're part of the problem because you're still there. So I think there's some personal ownership, but there's got to be a willingness to share openly and to want to move forward. I don't want it to just be somewhere you come and whinge about your boss. It's got to be somewhere where you come in, you just say, I've had a shocking week. Nothing seems to have gone right. This project is driving me crazy. And suddenly somebody pipes up and says, yeah, do you want to go offline and have a chat about it? Let's have a chat. Let's see if I can help you out. Takes it offline, clear the frustration, and then come back to the community and then, get that support, which I think is lacking a lot in conversational AI because people are working in very different disciplines across so many different industries. And, an AI trainer might feel, it might be only one or two of them within a business doing the AI training, and they're learning off each other, but that's very insular. That's not going to develop your skills. Oh, it very much is. And I think, anybody working in NLP, NLU, NLG in the future realizes how important that is all going to be, far more so than it is now. So, anybody out there who's looking for a career in conversational AI, learn those skills, which is what I'm going to do. I just feel that I want a community that builds strong support that you can't get anywhere else, but also outside of that builds strong friendships. So people will, you're quite prolific in content creation and connecting and building up a network. I'm quite prolific in that, but many within our niche are not. They're very insular. They're quite isolated. And that is one of the things I think the group can foster, is this ability to learn how to network and build up a group of people in your corner. And I did a post about this. In reality, ask yourself, how many people have you got in your career and personal corner? And for most people, it's less than a handful. Within this community, you could potentially have 100, 200, 300 people in your corner. When life's beating you down and things are not going right, it's nice to have those people in your corner. But you've got to work to build that corner. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, because you want to keep it professional. I think that's one of the major things. Otherwise, it sort of dilutes to something you don't want it to be. Exactly. Could I say, without further ado, that's the cue to basically show us the money, show us the platform. Because I haven't seen anything before. I couldn't see anything. So for me, it's the first viewing.
Yes.
So I'm really curious and interested. And I promised you then, and the promise still stands. As soon as I can become a member, I will. And I'd love to be a content creator on the platform. And I think we can help each other there. So count me in, and everybody else.
Okay,
count yourself in.
Thank you. No, yeah, there's been quite a few people reach out to me knowing I'm working on this, are going to support me, which is really appreciated. So I think the first question that people are going to ask is, why Slack? Of all the places you could build a community, why did you choose Slack? And I chose it mainly because I think it is seen as a business platform, and people that use Slack tend to be a bit more proactive, I feel. So, yourself, there's lots of little communities out there within conversational AI, and there'll be a LinkedIn group, there'll be Facebook groups, there'll be private groups on other platforms or whatever it might be. But they're all very passive. Whereas I think, from experience and being in Slack groups with other people, they're very active groups. They're people that are showing a commitment. They're there for a reason. And organizations, which I want to get involved eventually, they're comfortable with Slack. They're not comfortable with Facebook groups. LinkedIn groups have got multiple problems. They end up being taken over by people selling stuff. And it seems to be like 1% of people posting within LinkedIn groups. It's not really a community. It's a group of people being sold to. And whether you agree to that or not, whatever. The other option I looked at was
Jim, interestingly enough, I do agree. It's basically, as a podcast, you're broadcasting. And of course, there's interaction, and people contact me and give ask questions, but they usually do it in a private. Interesting enough, I would assume you would do it in the group under the post, but they do it in private messages, which is sort of okay. And I'll answer it, and I'll talk to everybody, because if they take the trouble to communicate to me, I'll communicate back. Yeah. And you get a lot of positive feedback about the podcast, so that's all really nice. But I would love to have a lot more interaction and discussion on the topic, and then you see that sort of that slacks.
Yeah. So I think Slack is the best platform. I did also look at Discord because I know that is a popular platform, but my gut feeling is that within this community, that wouldn't be as popular. I've been a gamer for 30, 40 years now, so I love Discord. But people outside of that struggle with Discord. And I could have done Discord effectively for free But there's a lot of issues with Discords around security and all sorts. For me, Slack feels safer. There's lots of benefits and lots of, you can have Slack bots, obviously.
Well, you can have Discord bots.
You can, yeah, but then there's people creating really dodgy bots and stuff. It really worries me. So Slack for me felt a bit more professional and business-like and easier to control. And I was thinking about the community and how it would run. I can't run everything. This cannot be my full-time job. I don't want it to be my full-time job. So I knew there was going to be channel managers, channel owners, whatever we decide to call them as a community, and just kept coming back to Slack. But don't get me wrong, I've thought about this for a good 12 months, which platform to use. So let me just kind of dive in. This will be the first time really you've seen it. And this is like like phase one, I call it. Once the community starts to come in and I start to get feedback, I think it will change. So I'm just going to share my screen so you let me know.
This is the
when you can see
MVP,
it.
as we would call it.
This is exactly that. This is the MVP.
Cool.
So I'm going to share my entire screen.
Yeah, we need a drum roll.
And then I'm going to flick across.
Actually, you know what? There's interestingly enough. Are you ready? Here it comes. You heard it?
I did. I appreciate that.
Okay, I needed to do that.
So this is basically what I call phase one, and then phase two will be wrapping the website around this. So, but it's basically built up of, and anybody who's used Slack will understand it. But it's
I missed one channel, Jim. I look at it. I see podcasts.
Yes, and I purposely left that out because I wanted to discuss it with you.
Okay,
and
cool.
You'll understand why. So,
yes.
Basically, I've put these 10, 12 channels on that I think are useful now, although I think it will probably change. So around the water cooler is exactly that. It's a free-for-all, chat about what you're watching on Netflix, what sports, whatever it is, just general chit-chat. I want it to be a community that is, yes, business-focused, but I also want us to be able to have a little place where we can just chit-chat and learn about each other.
And not dilute the actual channels that are important, just content-based. Is that correct?
Yes, and exactly, and yes, exactly that. And as I'm going through this, if you want to challenge me on any, please do, because
no. One of my frustrations with intranets, for instance, in a lot of companies, is that you have the interesting stuff, the important stuff, mixed up with the stupid chit chat, where you make the interest stuff totally irrelevant and people don't read it anymore, and then they complain that they don't get the message across because you know. It's,
and
you
some
put
people
rubbish.
I'll come in here. Yeah. Some people will be looking for the social side because they want to socialize with the community.
That's
and
fine.
Other people will be very business focused, and they may only become a member of 1, 2, 3 channels because they're very focused on those 3 things. And I want it to be supportive of the different types of people. So cool. The next channel I've got is Conversational AI Products and Tools. And obviously, this will also include all of these new AI tools that are coming. So initially, I think it will probably be me curating a lot of these channels and bringing the information in. But eventually, I think as the community grows, they'll see tools, they'll bring them in. And that will generate more content. So if somebody brings in a conversational AI tool and they share it within here, and we think that is an interesting tool, then I'm able to go out to that business, reach out to them, and then invite them in to come and talk about the product. I want to really...
Yeah?
Yeah.
I was going to say, because I have someone on my podcast from VoiceFlow next week.
Yeah, I'm really fascinated by VoiceFlow. They're popping up in my feed all the time. People seem to be loving their product. So bringing someone in, especially if they've launched a new element of their product, to be able to bring them into a community such as this and demo it, and us to be able to ask challenging questions in this closed community, I think will be quite important.
Hey, you know what we could do, Jim? Jim, you know what we could do? Is we could do that in a sort of a podcast way with a live broadcast where people can participate and sort of ask questions on the site. It's a bit like a webinar, but a bit different. And where a company gets to introduce their new stuff, we curate which companies we let on. It must make sense in a way, and then have people learn and participate.
That is exactly what I had in mind. I want it to be a two-way thing. So you've got the CEO of a company coming in, talking about their product, and then the community being able to ask direct questions rather than what you've got, which you do very well, which is the podcast, and you ask the questions you think people are going to want to ask. So it's going to be very much a conversation, basically.
Yeah, but you need a combination because before people know what to ask, they need to get information, and that information, if a CEO or some commercial guy, they start broadcasting their commercial story, that doesn't resonate. That's not what we're looking for. We're looking for the actual, what can I do with it? Where's the value? And then
that's exactly right. You know, everybody here, it should be coming to learn, not to be sold to, which is where I'm kind of pitching this.
Very good.
So conversational AI project management. So people that have project management responsibilities can be in this area. Plus, people that want to learn about conversational AI project management can come in. So they can ask questions. I've managed over 300 chatbot deliveries now. So I've got a lot of knowledge, and I've done small business right up to enterprise-sized businesses. But there'll be certain niches I've never worked in and never done a conversational AI project in, but somebody within the community may have, so they can offer support. We've got conversation.
Hold on, Jim. What if you go back to project management I would imagine there will be documents with information and knowledge and everything. Where are you going to leave these? Are they going to be in the channel or?
I think they're going to be part of phase 2. I think they're going to be on the website. I think there's going to be basically an Everything Conversational AI library.
Okay, and behind the login, I presume.
Yes. So all members of the Slack community will have a login via WordPress, and they'll be able to pick up all of the templates and documents and guides and ebooks, all the stuff that we generate, basically.
Okay.
Then we've got conversational design, speaks for yourself. It's where people can go in, demo what they're working on, get feedback, ask questions, talk about the latest best practice, whatever it might be. Conversational design is kind of I'd say conversational project management and conversational design are my bread and butter. It's what I've really worked hard on. So I feel I can offer a lot there, but there'll be other people that can offer us support as well.
Okay.
We've got freelancers. I'm massively into supporting freelancers. As you highlighted before, there's a real challenge for freelancers getting in front of the right people and demoing what we've done. We know Martin at Bot Jobs has done some great work.
I was going to say, I see Martin Redstone.
Yeah. So, he's going to be, I think, a key partner to help with this freelancers channel. To help people develop their portfolios, which he can host on Bot Jobs, but also for freelancers to come together, because they may freelance role right for them, but might be right for someone else in the community. So I wanted a place where freelancers can talk freely and work together. And then for those freelancers, I can kind of reach out to the market and bring in professionals to help them develop their portfolios, develop soft skills, teach them how to sell. Wherever they feel lacking, we can pull together as a community and help support them. General is general. I don't think I need to go into that. It's just anything that doesn't fit into the other channels. Jobs and career development, something I want to work really hard on. Bring some experts in to talk about career development, soft skills, how to market yourself, how to do job interviews, all that kind of stuff that is available out there, but sometimes needs a more proactive approach. We've got Learn, which will be courses. So you can see I've already started populating that. There's a lot that I've put on there, and I'm finding courses all the time. The phase 2 on the WordPress site, there'll actually be courses on there. And if you're a member, you'll get discounts on paid courses. You'll see all the free courses. And if somebody's coming from the outside who isn't a member, they'll just get a taste of what courses are available out there. Listen.
Can I ask you a question about this one? Hold on. Can you go? How do you, as discussed further, how do you how do you see it that there's going to be so much information on it that people find the right thing? Because now there's a few posts. What if there's a few hundred posts? How do you how do you know what's actual or what's relevant? You understand what I
I
mean?
understand exactly what you mean. So I think that will come in phase two. So behind this already, every course that I've published on here is already been added to the courses on the WordPress site. It's just not visible yet. So I think
Okay.
there'll be like the C-suite people will post courses on here, and we'll create our own as well. Don't forget that. We'll post courses on here, but then they'll be actually hosted in the members area of the website. I think this will actually become eventually more an area where people are giving feedback on courses, talking about perhaps courses that are not available, courses we need to go out there and find. It will change over time, I think, within the first year.
Okay.
Listen kind of falls into podcast. So my gut feeling, and there we are. This, because, podcasts are kind of watch and listen. Most people use podcasts and they'll listen to them whilst they're doing other things. So podcasts for me have kind of fall into this listen tab. But they could obviously fall into the watch tab. But we'll see how that goes, whether it needs a specific podcast tab or it's just a listen tab or listen and watch becomes one channel. I don't know yet. But my gut feeling, go ahead.
You know what I think is missing in terms of the categories? Examples, like not how to, but examples of what do we think, or what does the community think is a great bot because of great UX or great conversational design or great AI, or what have you. So people, you know how much time you spend also when we test a chatbot to find a testable chatbot. And everybody has seen a lot of things. So it will be interesting sort of to bring that together where people can look at it. It's like, okay, so the community thinks this is a good example of X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
Hey, that's interesting. What can I learn?
Yeah, I think part of the learning development or career development, that kind of stuff might be an area where we do that. And one of the things I thought about doing was kind of like once a month doing one of those as a group. So you can do things called a huddle. So you can create a huddle where we're going to launch a chatbot, and as a group, it might be 10 people, it might be 100 people. We go through it and we all give our feedback on it. So I think there's some potential there. It will develop over time, I think.
You might also scare members away because of it.
Yeah, we've got to be careful.
If it's their chatbot.
Yeah, it takes a certain level of bravery to put your work in front of other people, especially when it comes to kind of conversational AI. It takes some bravery, but I think people have to be understand that someone's being brave to put their work in front of people, and you have to have a little bit of dignity in listening to feedback, even if you don't agree with it.
Cool.
So looking for work speaks for itself. So it's people that are looking for work. I've actually come up with a kind of really robust process to help people who are looking for work. And I've started actually actively going out there and helping people. So, they kind of help themselves. They've reached out. They've got a really good LinkedIn profile. And it's very clear the kind of roles that they're looking for and where they're looking for roles. And then I've spent an hour or two a week actually reaching out to people I think could help them find a role. So I'm going to develop potentially a process here that people can follow, and we'll have, like a mass looking for work help. So case of look for someone within there looking for work, and this week reach out to your network and kind of sell this person to your network. And I'm talking like direct messaging, not just, on your feed, so-and-so is looking for work, because that really works. But actually teach them how to put a nice message together promoting a member of the community to someone that you think that they could, where you think they could find work. Does that make sense?
Yeah, my worry would be that it might turn out the in an economic downturn that it's going to be so much work to do
Yes.
that.
But
Where there's no guarantee that one executive or one HR
yeah,
person or what have you is going to be stalked by 12 people from the community with the same promoting the same
yes,
person. So and then something positive turns into I wouldn't say negative, but if on the other side of the receiving end, it becomes annoying.
yep,
And honestly, I I would do it differently. I would think of a way of making, because you're talking about connecting or private messaging on LinkedIn,
correct.
right? I would assume if you say we do this and we have the best of the best and we just help people get connected, shouldn't you just make a profile on LinkedIn for Everything Conversational and start connecting to the people who pull the strings, and then do it as a network, and so they get one message, and you could even automate it, by
Yeah,
the way, because there's ways to do that. And then you have a 24-hour machine going on, not dependent on individuals doing it and not stalking the people on the receiving end. Hence, you become more efficient. And you could even do that maybe with Martin from the bot
yes,
jobs
yeah, yeah.
perspective.
No, I think that's a fantastic idea.
I don't know. And I think you're far more efficient. And you could do that nationally. That's actually interesting. And because the way LinkedIn is set up, that is
Yeah,
possible.
no, I think that's a
So
fantastic idea.
thank you. And that was all free today.
So the next one is question of the day. It's something I've been running on LinkedIn and getting literally zero engagement. But you know yourself, when you launch things like this, you have to stick at them for some time. You know, you've done 52 episodes now, so I'm going to stick with the question of the day. And I think what I'll do is the question of the day will go up here first, and then perhaps a week later onto LinkedIn. We may find that the question of the day works better in this closed environment where people are happier to share their point of view in a more closed environment, maybe.
You know, I saw one or two of your questions of the day. And I think it's an interesting concept where you take very little time to solve help solve a problem, which is solvable in that, with words in that
Yeah.
short time. But I would, now it's you, I would assume that you do a different approach where you or someone else or me, it doesn't matter, ask that question to the subject matter specialist. So there's two people. There's one person asking, and if it's not clear or not clear enough, because now it's based on what you think is clear.
Yes. Yeah.
And maybe you don't get the traction yet because it's a monologue, and you might need to make it a dialogue.
I think that's a good idea. Yeah, that makes a bit more sense.
And I'm more than open to try that together and see if we can do that together. So it's a small experiment. And we can record not one question, we can record 10 questions and then, cut them up.
I love that idea. I think that'll work that'll be a far better way of delivering it. And there can be some conversation then. I think the other issue is that because the videos, I try to keep them under 30 seconds because I'm just asking a question, the LinkedIn algorithm doesn't support them. Whereas if one of us poses a question and the other one kind of gives a bit of an opinion and thrashes out the question, it could be a 2-3 minute video. And then LinkedIn will show it to more people and we'll get a bit more engagement. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense, but I'm more than open to try that with you and see if we can make that work.
Perfect. Next is read. Makes sense. It's going to be conversational AI and adjacent books, articles, news, whatever it might be, and the community just put it in there. Initially, I'm just going to pull that information together and put it in, but the community will start bringing in stuff they've found. So rather in the traditional sense is they kind of reshare something on LinkedIn. They can put it in here direct to the community, and we can have conversations around those articles, which I think is far more valuable. The C-suite, which I mentioned briefly, or do you want to go back to read?
No. This one. To read, yeah, you stay in the suite. My experiences with especially companies that put out reports, like here it's the Gartner Top Strategic, etc. That some companies bring out a report every quarter, some every half year, some every year. And what they typically do, and it's really, really annoying, you get the link, you put it out there, and then they put the next one, or they create a different link and delete the old link, and it's not available anymore. How are you going to manage that these links are going to be working?
Well, we're not. The base of the community is, so if somebody clicks on it, they can just quickly put a comment and say, this link no longer works. Then we can pull the post, find another link.
Yeah, but I see here this file was deleted. Shouldn't and wouldn't it be amazing? And that's probably when phase 2, if I think about this, that you download the file, put it on a drive somewhere, and you create this incredible, amazing library where maybe in due time we can use some AI layer over it and do analysis or what have you with these reports and make it accessible for the community. So basically the work has been done for you. We're saving time.
One of my big things is saving people time. So they're not having to go out and look for that information. They know to come to Everything Conversational AI, and they know they can find something. So for instance, if they've got to speak to their C-suite and they need some statistics, they can just, as you said, a nice piece of AI over the top of the library is just ask the question, and the LLM, that would be my dream, the LLM would already have indexed everything, and it would just bring back, oh, you might want to look at this Gartner report or this or this.
What I would suggest you do here is create a Google Drive, for instance. Ask the people who put up the link to download the file and put it in the library so that as soon as you make the website, you have all the files, and just keep it open for the people who put the links there to fill up the drive.
Perfect. That's a great idea.
And you could even you could even put up a link to the drive so it's read only, and then you can download it, but you can't delete a file, and put it out there. And it's just storage space. It's not expensive.
Yeah, I think I actually tried to put my the Everything Conversational AI Google Drive on there, but I didn't really know what I was doing. And I think because I've not upgraded this to the paid version yet, because I'm not doing that until it goes live, there were some restrictions. But yeah, I think we need that storage area. And
I see on top of there, it says add a bookmark, and Google Drive is just a link.
All right. Okay. Well, there you go then. That should be.
Maybe that will work. I don't know. And you can
again. This is why I need more people involved in this than me, because I need the ideas to make this even better. Even the whole process for signing up, because this is the MVP. When people sign up, they're going to join. I want them to be able to join a mailing list, and then the mailing list is going to teach them how to get the best out of the product. So there's still a lot of work to do. This is the MVP and the C-suite, which is ideally what I'm going on to next. Those people in the C-suite, the channel owners, are going to help me develop this product and make it the best it can be and a useful resource for people working in conversational AI. So, yeah, people within the C-suite are the knights of the round table, as I call them. They are the people that will help drive the product. They'll be solely responsible for their channel and driving it and making it the best it can be. But they'll also have an input and effectively a vote on what developments and what changes we make, who we pay to kind of come in and give, private lessons, talks, whatever it might be. I'm open to anything and everything. And the C-suite people, the kind of that trusted top end part of the community will be the ones that help make that decision. I don't know how to equate it. C-suite seemed to make sense to me because everybody knows what a C-suite is.
And besides, Jim, it really, I have the feeling that, first of all, you, but also the community, it doesn't give a rat's ass about titles. So it's a bit jokingly about, okay, these are the people we need to educate. Sort of, we give ourselves the name, and then it's with a, how do you say that? A blink of the eye. I don't know.
A wink. Yes. Yeah.
Wink,
Yeah. Well,
wink.
part of
Yeah.
this is the
Sort of that.
C-suite really was my attempt to make this thing not an authoritarian place. So to have almost like a group of people that make a decision. So for instance, if we have someone in the community who is taking more than they're giving, as in they're selling themselves, they're over talking everybody, they're rude, whatever it might be, it shouldn't be down to one person to say, right, we've got to get rid of this person. It should be brought up to the C-suite, a group of very different people from all over the world who say, how do we manage this situation with this person? And as a team, we would work on it. But also around making key decisions. So if we're going to we're going to spend some money on bringing in someone to do some training for the community, it can't just be who I want, because I would pick the AI people and the LLM people because that's what I want to learn. Whereas the C-suite might say, actually, the community really could do with someone in this more softer skill, perhaps. So that's really, it's to get away from that authoritarian leadership of a community.
I think the C-suite would work, but I think there's one other very important thing is the community should speak. Say, okay, listen, we're up for a vote in the C-suite. We have three options. We brought it down to 3 options, and you decide. And whatever it is the community decides, we'll do it in the order you voted
Exactly
on.
that. And I love that.
So,
and that's one of the other reasons for upgrading the product is you can bring in these voting systems. There's so many add-ons to Slack. It's such a powerful product. So we could effectively have a bot that asks the questions and people vote within the bot and we get a result.
Yeah. And you nag them until they give an answer.
Yes,
right?
Exactly. But that's one of the things that I'm talking about. I don't want this to be a passive community. I want it to be a very active community. So,
you think you're going to steal away traffic from LinkedIn?
No, I don't think so. I think this is going to turn into its own thing. On
top of,
most people are, to be fair, are not joiners. The person who is a joiner is normally more positive, more active, more proactive, and more of a giver than a taker. That's my gut feeling. So, LinkedIn is LinkedIn, and I love it, and I get a lot of business from it, and I've built some really good friendships from it, and I get to use it as my creative channel. This is going to be something different. I think this is going to be much more of LinkedIn's not that, they call it a business community, but it's really not. I think this is going to be a more of a community. But we'll see. Time will tell.
Okay.
Cool. Watch is effectively videos that we find and we share that we think are interesting, and then we can all comment and discuss them. Pretty straightforward. Webinars and events is exactly that. So there is a list in there. And again, as I was saying before, for phase 2, they'll all be part of the WordPress channel. So members will have access to those. And my dream is that eventually, as we grow as a community, we'll have some purchasing power. So if there's an event and we've got, 50 members that want to go to that event, whether it's online or in person, we can reach out and say, the Everything Conversational AI community want to come. Can we have pricing for us, or can we have an area for us to meet together when we go to the event? Whatever it might be, there'll be some power in empowering people, I think. Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense. You can relate to that. I understand.
And final channel I've got is just the welcome, which is basically when people join, they come and introduce themselves here. And what I'll eventually do is build up a library of information in here to help people get the most out of their membership. And that's it. As it is an MVP, and I think it's going to develop very quickly. As just you and I looking at it, several ideas come through, and those ideas will feed into the community, and it will get better and better.
Yeah, I think that is what would set it apart from a regular Slack channel.
Yes, and a regular,
or
conversational AI
LinkedIn.
community, wherever it is it's got to be a community that is driven by the community, where it becomes a useful resource. I want it to be that place where people drop into little and often. So they get a little notification on their phone because they've got the Slack app on their phone, or it's on their email. They see something pop up that a video on this has been shared, and that's something they're really interested in, and they go in and they start engaging with other people. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I'm trying to think how that would work for me. But I get a lot of notifications, but there's only some that I actually are interested
and I think part
really
of that
interested
is
in.
when you're set up, you can kind of work through your notifications. So, you don't want every notification from every channel. It'll drive you crazy. Just give me a second, because my
I just
dogs
realized,
want to play.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
They've been very good sitting quietly, but they're just starting to get a bit rambunctious.
That is actually funny, because usually it's my dog that starts getting annoying. Now it's yours. That's cool. No, what I was thinking, that if you do this and you should ask me, what content are you interested in? Or in the beginning when you do the setup. And that would mean that any content in there should have metadata relating to what I'm interested in. And that since it's being put on there, that once a day or instantly, whatever the choice is, you get a notification that, okay, there's new content. My worry is if you get if we're very active community, which I wouldn't be surprised it will be, and you're interested in a lot of stuff, you get notifications all day, throughout the day, and with the risk of you getting annoyed and you don't have time to look at it because you're basically working. Which makes sense. So I would assume that you need to sort of compress that into a once a day message that, hey, here's what came online for you today. These are the topics that interest you. Based on your interest, like Amazon does, this could also be of interest to you. Are you interested? Yes or no? Or watch it one time, something like that.
Yeah, my gut feeling
to get people.
My gut feeling is as the community grows, that kind of feedback's going to become really important. So at the moment, I can control how I want to get stuff. I can mark myself as away. I can pause notifications. I can do custom stuff, set a notification schedule. But people initially won't know this. So I think part of the emails that they get as a new member is going to teach them how to manage their notifications, how to manage their content, how to get involved. For me personally, because I'm going to run the community initially, I'm going to want every notification. But for members, if I was just a member, I just want one notification once a day across the channels that I'm interested in, and that is it. Yeah.
Exactly. Otherwise, you're not getting around to any work.
Again, if I'm a member of the C-suite and I'm running the jobs and career development channel, I might want to get everything from that because I'm running that channel.
Yeah, but that's different.
So,
and especially if you're neurodiverse, then what happens is every notification is a welcome distraction.
Exactly. Yeah. That's one of the reasons I love Apple, because you can kind of put yourself in work mode now, work focus. So it kind of cuts off all of those distractions, and I'm very easily distracted. So I don't want it to turn into a distraction for people. I want it to turn into one of those places they come when they need community support and they want to give something. I really want to. One of the things I want to do is empower more people in our community to become creators. And I think this is a place where they can start to learn those skills. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, and I'm looking forward to see what's going to happen. Now, the important question, we're nearing the end of the recording. We're not. That's a choice, of course, but I think one of the questions I have, and probably the people that are watching, first of all, how do I sign on? When does it, when does it start? When do we start creating content and becomes relevant? And thirdly, what is it going to cost me? Not in terms of time, and I understand you have to be an active member, otherwise don't bother. What monetary wise?
Okay, so starting with the first question is you'll be able to sign on from Tuesday. Initially, I'm going to reach out to my VIP list. That's over 200 people on there now, and they're going to get first access. I don't want more than 100 people on there initially. So once we hit 100 people, there'll be kind of a stop, because that's a hell of a community to manage.
Okay.
There's going to be a lot of feedback. So once we hit the 100 mark, that is it. We'll sit still at 100 members for a few months, thrash it out, get the feedback. I'll be reaching out to each one of those people, getting feedback about what they like, what they don't like, how it could be better, because it's going to be critical in those first 3 months to make it the best it can be before we then expand it out further. So that was the first question, is how. I think you said when, so it's probably going to be Tuesday. So when your podcast goes...
The 7th?
Yes, so when you...
That's the 7th of November. So for people viewing today...
Yes, exactly, when this goes live. And obviously, once you go live on this, I'll push it as well and share a link. And in terms of pricing, I spent a lot of time on pricing because it's important. I think, firstly, there was always going to be a price because it needs a commitment. And one of the reasons that lots of groups don't work is because it's free and people have no investment. They have no skin in the game, as you call it. So they don't feel that it's of value. Everything of value has a cost, I believe. And let's be honest, you and I create a lot of content for free. And there's lots of other people creating content for free. So it was always going to be a cost. Secondly, it has to be at a cost because for every person joining, I'm going to be paying somewhere around the $8 mark per license. So there was always going to be a cost for a license.
For Slack.
Because it's for a Slack license. So, this is...
Those are like corporate rates, right?
Yeah, I think that's called Pro. And what that does is by going to the Pro account and people paying for licenses, gives us a lot more tools. We get analytics. We can add in really clever bots. We can add in lots of tools to make Slack really powerful. And it's a little bit of commitment by everybody. And thirdly, the question was,
makes sense.
What is the price? So again, I was all over with the pricing and I was asking people advice and I just couldn't get my head around pricing something because how do you value something? It's really difficult. So eventually what I settled on was something called parity pricing, purchase parity pricing. And it's through a product called Gumroad. So that is how you would sign up. You would sign up for the membership for 1 month and you'll pay a fee, but that fee will be different depending on where you are. So there's one membership fee. And if you're coming in from Bangladesh, you'll pay the Bangladesh parity cost. If you're coming in from the Netherlands, you'll pay the Netherlands parity cost. So what I didn't want to do is I didn't want a whole nation, a whole community being priced out because it's too expensive for them. So, for example, if I was coming in from the UK, it would be £29.99 a month. If I'm coming in from Georgia, it's £12 a month. You can see it's a massive difference in cost because the cost of living here in Georgia is so much, earnings here are a fraction. People are, the average person here lives on $500 a month compared to whatever it is in the UK. So I wanted to make it accessible to as many people as possible.
And for the people that have their own business, do they get like an invoice so they can put it on their business?
You know what? I hadn't thought about that. So thank you for bringing it up. Yeah.
Well, it makes perfect sense because if you're, I don't know where the company is going to be located that sends the invoices, but if it's in the, VAT wise, could be interesting. And if it's company cost, because if it's your platform and it's for your work, it's just company cost, then it's less of an issue.
Actually, I think it is solved. I think the Gumroad has an option where you tick a tick box and says, is this a business? So then you put your business details in, VAT details, whatever it is, and then it sends you an invoice.
Well, cool.
Yeah.
Problem solved. But you should use that in your promotion, because I think for a lot of people, especially the richer
Yes.
countries where people would have a business where they would put it onto, they're like, okay, let's take it out of the business cost and not the
Yeah.
private
Yeah.
cost.
And I think people need to realize that I'm obviously going to be a member. I'm going to pay, and I'm going to put it through my business. So yes, it makes sense.
Like
Yes,
me. And I think one of the things, whether you create content or not, everybody pays. That makes
I
it
think
fair.
so. Where it might differ, and this is a conversation to have with the community, is around C-suite members. So there may come a time where I have a specific price for people in the C-suite. They may pay at cost, effectively, but we'll see. It might,
That
yeah,
makes sense. They're putting in more
yeah. That's
time.
it. My gut feeling is, why should I take on this extra responsibility and pay the same as everybody else? But I think that's a conversation to be had later.
Makes perfect sense. Jim, thank you for having for us having the scoop.
Well, that's fine. When I initially voiced the idea with you that I was building something, and it would be around the community, you're initially straight on it. Yeah, I support this. So you see there's an issue out there, and the potential is massive. But this is the MVP. This is the very early stage. I'm not going to do the traditional thing of, the first 25 people to sign up get it at 50%. No, I'm going to be, this is the price. I have introduced parity pricing to make it fair. I think parity pricing is very egalitarian. I think us that live in better off companies should pay a little bit more. Although I'm living in Georgia, so we'll see.
Well, here's the interesting thing, Jim. Because there's something that popped up in my mind. In the wealthier countries where the incomes are higher and the companies have some more budget, etc., we're very used to spending more money in companies, in corporates, on projects like
Yes.
these. What we could learn from the countries where they don't have as big a budget as some companies in the West have. How do you do it with less of a budget? And we could actually learn a lot from them, because maybe we're just spending too much money, we're overspending, and there's ways to do it with less. So I think there is a tremendous value in getting content from people in countries that we wouldn't consider and learn from them.
Yeah.
Business-wise, but also
yeah.
culturally.
I didn't want this to end up as a Western product, basically. I didn't want it to end up being like
makes
Northern
perfect
Europe.
sense.
I wanted people from all over the world, and I looked at my analytics on LinkedIn at all the countries that watch and comment on my content, and it literally is all over the world, and that's the community I want within Everything Conversational AI.
I see the same thing. So that's although you see, what is interesting, you're from India, there's an enormous amount of people working on conversational AI, and chatbots, and I think there's some, not only there but also in Europe. I've seen some hidden gems of smaller platforms which are developing really brilliant stuff, and they're just not getting any coverage or any leverage in any discussion. And I think these type of companies, those are the gems you were talking about. It's not only people, it's also technology. Or, okay, guys, we should embrace this and make it successful. And because our customers can actually profit from it. If you're in the early stage, you're not paying the big price. You can do stuff, innovative stuff, which you can't do with the other platforms or at a very high cost, et cetera, et cetera. And I think there's so much value there.
I do. And, I have a vision of startups within conversational AI and AI adjacent coming to the community and saying, we've just launched our MVP. Can your community test it for us? Can you give us feedback? Because we'll have that community and be able to give real life feedback on a product. I think there is real strength in numbers. And if we build this community right, and I know it's not going to be easy. If it was easy, somebody would have already done it, I'm sure. But if we do it right and we've got the right team and the right community with the right values, I think we can build something pretty special within this MVP. I looked at communities out there. And the one I looked at was, I don't know if you're aware of it, is Brighton SEO. So Brighton is a seaside town in the UK, and they put this SEO event on, I think maybe once a year, maybe more than once a year, and the whole SEO community just goes there, and they all get together and have a wild time. I just see a time when this community is that big that we put on an Everything Conversational AI community event once, twice a year, and this whole community just invades this town somewhere and has a wild time, and we have the best speakers, and people make lifelong friendships. We're probably a few years away from that, but you've got to start somewhere.
You know what's interesting, Jim? I think if you would cooperate with existing conferences or et cetera, what have you, because the platform is not competing with anybody. It's not competing with CDI. It's adjacent. It strengthens. They strengthen each other. They're complementary. That's the word I was looking for. And I think if you would connect, because since you're not competing, you connect to events around the world where you sort of have a connected event. For them, it would attract extra visitors, and it would allow you to sort of not having to organize, but organize a little bit. And because it's not about the money. People have to understand this is not about the money. It's about giving and receiving and become better bot builders, conversation designers, AI people, what have you. And delivering more value to our customers or employers, etc.
Let's be honest. If I wanted to go and make more money, I would just do more consultancy work. I wouldn't do this.
You're doing things that you like. That's the fun part.
I'm in a very lucky position. I've got great clients. I land great clients, and I've built a lifestyle where I don't need to earn $1 million. I'm a very easy living guy. As long as I can get out up in the hills and I can do my conversational AI work, I'm a very happy
man. Having said that, I think we should conclude, because this is a beautiful way of ending a dream of yours basically coming true, and it's happening. And again, I'm happy to be able to be a part of that. And I'm looking forward to creating content for and on the platform. And we'll follow it. And what we'll do is, if you give me the numbers, I'll repost it and say, okay, we're 75 or 80 or 90 or 100, what have you, and say, okay, there's a stop now. And then we help you. We try and help you get as many members as possible, so that we can actually start creating content and work.
Perfect. I really appreciate your support. It's important.
But you got the first one, right?
Yeah, you'll always be number one. Who was the?
Oh, you're my number 52.
Yeah, it's the market will tell if there's a market out there for this. I'm going to put my heart and soul into it to make this community work, and it's about pulling in the right team to help me do it. I can't do it all, so if I can get the right team in who are not focused on cash, hard money, but are focused on being, hard-working members of a community, I think we can build something.
Well, you got Botcasters.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, I hope to see you soon live at one of the events where we invade a town. Invade is maybe the wrong word, but you have a military background. You know what I mean. Where we enjoy a town. Anywhere. Thank you very much, Jim. And, stay in touch.
Thank you. Really appreciate it. Take care.